Hi everyone, and welcome to this super short video all about how the ASM Microbe Conference comes together and how you, yes you, anyone out there at any stage of their career in the microbial sciences can help program the meeting by crafting and submitting a session proposal. I'm Jennifer Gardy, and besides being your friendly narrator for today, I'm also co-chair of the ASM Microbe 2021 Steering Committee. I've sat on the program committee since the very first Microbe back in 2016, so I know all the ins and outs of how we put the meeting together, and with this quick video, I wanted to share those with you. But before that, let's get to some logistics, the save the date notice. ASM Microbe 2021 will be held June 3rd to 7th in Anaheim, California, so mark your calendars now. But even though that's a year away, the work really does start now. Before we get to how to write a good session proposal, let me quickly walk you through how the meeting is planned and programmed. ASM Microbe comes together every year through the hard work of the Program Committee. The Program Committee, or PC for short, comprises over 50 people drawn from all over North America and the world, representing the meeting's 8 tracks or topic areas: AAR, antimicrobial agents and resistance; AES, applied and environmental science; CIV, clinical infections and vaccines; CPHM, clinical and public health microbiology; EEB, ecology, evolution and biodiversity; HMB, host microbiology; MBP, molecular biology and physiology; and POM, the profession of microbiology. There are around 6 members, give or take, for each track, and they're chosen to represent a breadth of expertise within each track, as well as different institutions and career stages. We have at least one early career representative, also known as the Junior Advisory Group, or JAG, member, and one international representative on each track. And this year, for the first time, we opened up a call for applications for PC members. It was a great success, and we plan to use this again in 2021, so keep an eye out on ASM social media for the open call announcement in spring 2021 in case you're interested in serving. Each member serves a 3-year term. One member from each track is the designated track lead, charged with keeping their track organized and communicating with ASM meeting staff and the co-chairs. In addition to the PC members, there are 2 meeting co-chairs. These are people who have done PC and track lead duty for several years and know the process inside out. This year, I'm co-chairing with Kumaran Ramamurthy, and our job is to make the big decisions when it comes to the overall meeting and be in pretty much weekly, sometimes daily, contact with the ASM meetings team. Besides the co-chairs, the amazing ASM meeting staff and ASM leadership representatives, there are some other people represented in the planning process too, including the ASM meetings committee chair, the president, and the president-elect. When we talk about the program committee, we mean everyone. And when we talk about the steering committee, we mean just the track leads, co-chairs, and the others. You can think of the PC as the group that really creates the scientific content of the meeting, and the steering committee as the group that vets that content, schedules it, and makes some other big decisions like the keynote lectures and other special events. Like I said earlier, even though ASM Microbe 2021 is still a year away, the work starts now. The PC prides itself on programming the majority of the meeting from your suggestions, so in June, we open the call for session proposals. We solicit proposals through a website, which you can access at the ASM Microbe site, asm.org/microbe, or find via our social media. For those of you who have submitted session proposals in the past, you might notice that things look a little different this time. That's because we're using a system that can feed your proposals directly into the tool that we use to publish the meeting program, making for a more efficient planning process. On the session proposal website, you'll find helpful information walking you through the specifics of the process. We'll return to this in a bit, but for now, I can tell you that one of the factors that most influences whether your session gets selected for programming is having a complete proposal filled out according to these instructions. Anyway, like I said, more about that later. For now, let's keep going with the timeline. We closed the session proposal site after about a month. This year, it will close on August 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. At this point, the proposals are shared with the entire program committee and they're grouped into tracks. So it's important to ensure that when you submit your proposal, it's directed to the right track. In late August, the program committee meets as a group to discuss the proposals, but between the proposal submissions like closing and the planning meeting, each track is typically working together as a small group to triage the proposals they receive so that they have a more efficient planning process when they meet in person. Every proposal is read carefully, but some of the things that might cause a track to triage a proposal out of consideration at this stage include being incomplete, being what I call a vanity submission, where the only proposed speaker is the session proposer themselves, being too general and not providing enough detail on what the session topic is and why it matters, or being incomplete. When the whole PC meets in person, each track finalizes their session and fills the slots they've been allocated. The tracks also meet with each other to review each other's proposed sessions to prevent duplications in topic ideas or in proposed speakers. And at the end of 2 days, we have all the draft content for the meeting in place. On the third day of the planning meeting, just the steering committee meets. That's when we do a final review of the proposed sessions and when we stand in front of a big board to get everything assigned to a room and a time slot. After the planning meeting ends, that long stretch between August and the actual conference in June isn't quiet. That is when the program committee goes to work, issuing speaker invitations, reviewing submitted poster abstracts, and selecting some for oral presentation in the scientific sessions, and staying in touch with session speakers and moderators to answer questions and provide support. It's a lot of work, but the end result is a meeting we can all be really proud of, one that features content submitted by our community and that covers the latest and best in a wide range of microbial sciences. So let's look at the session proposal topic in a little more depth. How does it work and what can you do to best position yourself for success? First, you probably have a good idea of the topic you want to propose, but don't forget to think about the why. What is it about your topic that you think means it should be presented at ASM Microbe? You'll also want to think about what session format is the best way to communicate that topic. And here you have a few choices. Courses and workshops are a very special event, and we only run a handful of these each year. The main difference is that courses involve just lectures, whereas workshops are more interactive, combining lectures and hands-on activities. These take place for either a half or full day leading into the conference opening session on the first day and can involve from 2 to 4 invited instructors. Cross-track sessions are the really big events. These take place in the morning and are meant to explore big topics from multiple angles in a way that will appeal to people from many different tracks. This year, the cross-track format will feature 3 invited speakers giving their talks, followed by a panel discussion and moderated Q&A at the end, and we'll have 1 convener who will help coordinate and host the session. Symposia are the meat of the meeting. These focus on a specific scientific topic in depth, so will typically appeal to just 1 or 2 tracks worth of attendees. We've made some changes for 2021. Symposia are now shorter, 2 hours instead of 2.5, and we're asking for 2 invited speakers only. The remaining slots will be shorter talks selected from abstracts in early 2021. This is a great way to ensure participation by the full ASM community and ensure we're getting the latest new science up on stage. Symposia also feature 1 convener. As a session proposer, you may want to list yourself as a convener, but note that there's no travel subsidy for conveners. Instead, you'll receive a discount on your registration. There are 2 other unique session formats you might consider for your proposal too. Mini conferences are something we piloted at Microbe 2019 for the first time, and it's basically a meeting within a meeting. You propose a topic, and we give you the space to organize a small mini conference during the main ASM Microbe meeting. It's up to you what this looks like, but because there's no associated budget for speakers, you'll have to get creative. What works well is suggesting a topic and putting your name forward as an organizer. Then, if your topic is selected, the program committee will work to connect you with speakers and confirmed attendees who might want to participate. Previous mini conferences have used special poster sessions and panel discussions as anchor events. While ASM extends a registration discount to the mini-conference convener and up to 4 speakers, any additional expenses are covered by the organizer. ASM encourages small societies and special interest groups to hold a mini-conference in conjunction with ASM Microbe. Track hubs are short sessions, about 45 minutes, and are highly interactive. Instead of taking place in a meeting room, they take place in the track hub spaces on the exhibit floor and typically have from 10 to 50 people dropping in to check out the session. These have a single speaker and allow for an interactive presentation on a topic of interest. I also wanted to touch on Meet the Experts sessions. For those of you who have submitted session proposals before, you'll recall that we accepted Meet the Experts proposals featuring 1 to 2 speakers that came in via the session proposal form. This year, MTE sessions will feature only 1 speaker, and they'll be programmed by the program committee, not from session submissions. Instead, we'll be identifying Meet the Expert speakers from program sessions. So you've got your topic and decided on your session format. Now what? As I said earlier, one of the things that will determine whether your proposal gets triaged out right away versus making the shortlist for consideration is completeness. All of the information you see here should be in your proposal, and the session description, learning objectives, and key takeaways are the most important parts. We'll see an example of a good description on the next slide, but I do want to make a quick point here about the format. During the PC's deliberations, one thing that does happen often is that an idea comes in with one format specified, but the PC feels that it would work better as another session format. For example, some symposia might be so niche they work better as a track hub. This could happen with your proposal, and if it does, the PC will let you know. We'll also be asking you for suggested speakers and their contact information. Here's an example of a great session description, which I'll read for those who are visually impaired. According to a 2016 National Center for Educational Statistics report, the number of full-time faculty from underrepresented minority populations is 7%. The challenge of increasing diversity in science goes beyond community building to structural changes that reshape the professional practices in the workplace. Efforts to increase awareness in education, coupled with aligned practices and policies, are critical ingredients for elevating and sustaining diversity and inclusion in microbiology. You only have 500 words for your session description, so make them count. This description also contains a few bullet points highlighting why this session should be presented. You can use this as a chance to sell the program committee on your idea. Here's a screenshot of the session proposal form showing where you input some of the basic information and the space for your description, learning objectives, key takeaways, and your target audiences. Let's finish off with a quick recap of the review process. When the PC is reviewing session submissions, here are a few of the things they're looking for. A complete submission form, including contact information for all suggested speakers. A session title that accurately reflects the topic to be presented. It can be catchy, but it still needs to tell the story of what the session is about. An appropriate session format for the session proposed, remembering that this may be changed by the PC. A well-written session description, learning objectives, and key takeaways that give a clear picture of the session and what attendees will learn through their participation. The session should also meet the needs of the community. Is this something that really matters to the microbial scientists that attend ASM Microbe? It should represent a topic that hasn't been presented recently, or if it has, merits an update. And we want to see diversity amongst your proposed conveners and speakers when it comes to gender, race, career level, geography, and institutions. A couple of things to keep in mind about the process. It's a great idea to reach out to speakers to let them know you're suggesting them for a session, but you may also want to indicate that it is only a proposal and there's A, no guarantee it will be programmed by the PC, and B, if it is, the PC may suggest different speakers. We try to avoid repeating speakers from the year before, and we want to make sure each session has a diverse array of voices represented. In the submission site, there's a list of speakers that presented from the last meeting. The PC also receives many similar suggestions for sessions. If the committee decides to program something that was submitted by multiple people, a member of the PC will reach out to all of the submitters to discuss what merging and/or modifying these multiple sessions into a single one might look like. And that's it. Once the sessions have been reviewed and the final choice is made, they all get posted on little cards and the steering committee goes to work on scheduling. In a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, the whole meeting comes together. And at that point, the PC begins reaching out to submitters, letting them know the decision on their proposal. And if your submission was chosen, the PC member tasked with shepherding that session will be in touch with future details. All of that shepherding and planning takes place in that gap between the August planning meeting and ASM Microbe itself, and it's a lot of work, but it's all worthwhile to bring our community the best of the microbial sciences, and it wouldn't be possible without you. So get on that submission. The site is open through August 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to get in touch with us on social media if you want more detail on creating a good proposal. You can find me at Jennifer Gardy on Twitter, and ASM is at ASM Microbiology. That's AS Microbiology. Thanks for tuning into this, and happy submitting.